Actually, it's been so long since I filmed, so I'm like, you know, just feeling uncomfortable. It feels like I'm speaking in front of people without much substance, and but I want to just say, how you guys doing? I've been feeling like there's always constantly something for me to do, and the last several weeks it's caused me to become absent from video making. And there's so many avenues of conversation I can have. It feels overwhelming to subsidize it to one thing, one topic. First, life has been feeling like there's always something in front of me, whether it's an interaction with someone or work or a job I'm working at or an activity. Even if it's fun, there's always just something in front of me. And sometimes I need to be able to not function my brain or my body, and I just want to be in a resting state of stillness. There's so many people on this planet that everyone is functioning their brain in a way that produces activity on this earth. It's exciting to participate in these happenings. However, it feels like I want to just take a step back and be there for the people that hold dear to my heart. When people say there's not enough time, I don't have time for this, I'm not too fond of that statement because, yes, of course, there's just so much to do on this earth. Why would one expect to be able to navigate it all? Forget the whole 9-to-5 job that takes up a majority of our time. I feel as though if we didn't even have that, we still can't fit everything in a way. I mean, yes, it would be much easier, but there's just so much to do, so much to participate in, so many people on this earth to interact with. And one can't encapsulate it all in one lifetime. And I hope that we can see that it's not meant to be encapsulated all in one's lifetime. We're not entitled to any experience on this earth. We're just here existing. We are given a journey, a path to embark on, whether or not we choose to participate in our path. One can say that you can choose to not participate, but choosing to not participate is choosing nonetheless. It's just the path will look very stale and bland if you ignore the signs on your path to determine what direction to go to. Some people's paths are constant U-turns. Some are constant dead ends because of the repetition of unhealthy patterns. Um, some are just straight down the highway to the destination, much easier and quicker, yeah, smoother. A lot of us have so many turns along our path, but there's never a knowing of what's to come. You're just constantly going down, you're driving. And I also wanted to bring up this mystery of this life, like not knowing anything. And it could feel bothersome because not knowing feels like there's something wrong with that. We're taught that there's something wrong with not knowing, whether it's not knowing where we're going, not knowing how to operate and navigate life's challenges, not knowing what works for us. And that's why there's just a plethora of self-help, self-development videos, podcasts, books, knowledge on the internet, because everyone wants to know something. And for me, I of course want to delve deeper into knowing and learning. However, what really is helpful, and I've realized this recently, is learning what works for me, what helps me feel more capable. There's so many tools to use and how to build structure and plan and navigate your life, operate it in a more organized, structured way. For one example, I have this challenge of planning what I eat throughout the week because there's just so much indecisiveness of what to eat. However, I've come to a way that can more easily help me decide, and that is eating in-season foods that I want to surround my meals with. So, and it's something that it may seem like obvious answer to some, but I found a way to be able to, seek my in-season foods. It's not always easy when you're living in an area with food insecurity. So I think that was one reason why it's been kind of hard for me to implement meal planning into my daily routine. And it got me to think like how, these obstacles we face within ourselves, we just keep coming into this wall of like, how do I get past this like difficulty or this challenge, or how do I get to that other side? For my example, to continue with my example, I kept hitting a wall with like deciding to eat, what to decide to eat, and it got me to not eat, and it affected other areas of my life. And you see all these people have their own routines, or so many people I see online will just make their own food and just like come up with it. It's just like it just comes up in their mind, and then go grocery shopping. Whether it's the same kind of foods that they eat every week, they're just able to just sum up and concoct a meal for themselves every day. And I could take that information and say, okay, I'm gonna just copy and paste and make the same meals. However, that doesn't work for me, because a lot of the times I don't want that same meal at that same time. And I think we won't really go that far if we're just copying paste of what someone else is doing for themselves that works for them. I wish it was that easy, but it's like, I think as we continue with our evolution, we see how more clearly and clearly as time goes on, what works for us and what doesn't, or what makes things easier for us to decide. My gosh, I'm not someone who can easily decide on some areas of life. In some areas I can decide with, and maybe I'll revert back to this topic of decision making, because whether it's this video or next, because decision making, I wish life just would be so much easier if we can decide. I know that there's people that exist that can decide so much. It's just easier for them to decide. You know, I think it's much easier to decide when you have a personality that thrives on predictability, that thrives on sameness, I guess, and that's great, because it just seems from the outside perspective of someone else, it just seems like it's easier to navigate life when there's so much when someone thrives on predictability, it feels easier. For me, I need change sometimes, and that gets in the way of me deciding on food, deciding on even my day-to-day, what I do in a day. So I've come to realize with this wall I've been hitting that I think I was going about it in the sense that I felt, and I still do with even creativity, believing that it'll just appear out of my mind, what I create. And that's taken me to, this resulted in me keep hitting a wall, because ideas are not just a light bulb that turns on. It's insinuated by inspiration or some type of force. And from my experience, this force, there's something that pushes. It's almost like the light bulb doesn't come on until there's actually electricity. So I feel that way with creativity. Like, creativity doesn't just flourish out of thin air. There's something that helps it move through the body, to the mind or something, you know. So it's finding what sparks that creativity to conjure up in the mind. And sometimes it looks different for other people. I'm actually just starting to try to see and find and seek out ways that creativity can conjure up in my mind. Because my mind is so blank at times. I don't, and I think that I'm not allowing myself to seek out ways that the creativity can be, ways that the spark can come up. And I think I have to place myself in situations and spaces that allows creativity to conjure up. And I think that like growing up, I didn't identify with feeling too creative, because maybe I just didn't allow myself to be in those spaces that creativity can conjure up within me. Things don't just appear. Just like the version of you who you want to be, it just doesn't happen unless you take steps. There needs to be a movement of some kind. Tornadoes don't just appear out of thin air. It's a mix of hot air and cold air together. Or like gardens don't flourish out of nothing, flourish out of thin air. There has to be water and and good soil and sunlight. I guess creativity can be seen that way. For me, it's things just have to come together. Pieces have to come together. So I'm still learning what can inspire me. What kind of inspiration works for me that will result to creativity conjuring up in my mind, something like that. And I understand why there's content on inspiration. I can understand that. Because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why people needed to seek inspiration. I really didn't. I just thought people just needed help with having just a light bulb moment. That's how I saw it. I saw seeking inspiration as, oh, I just need to think and it'll just appear out of thin air. Creativity is a structural process as well. It requires structure and organization as well, and planning. And I think as a kid, when I was creating, you're told what to create by the art teacher, or there's some level of idea coming from the art teacher itself, so you don't have to actually do the beginning process, in my experience. So it's a lot of my journey to creativity has felt very stale and stuck, and I kept hitting a wall. I know it's different from the meal planning, but it intertwines, because I was hitting a wall with both my creativity and my meal planning, and I just didn't know how to quote unquote problem solve it. When I don't know how to problem solve it, I remain in a stuck mode, and maybe I don't want to operate that way anymore. So now that I found this way of making it easier for myself to conjure up meals and having access to truly organic vegetables and foods straight from the earth, and not just organic like they say in the grocery stores, but it just got me thinking that there's a way out of just hitting a wall over and over again. My shortcomings revolve a lot around not problem solving. It's such an important skill to have. And it brings me back to my household. There was never problem solving. The patterns, unhealthy patterns, just kept repeating. Nobody was ever wanting to change their patterns. And maybe it instilled in me this belief that I'll just remain stuck, because honestly, growing up now, wow, I need to talk to my therapist. But I just, I have these issues, problems that come up, and I was never taught to problem solve. But the opposite of just allowing whatever was the issue and problem just to continue. And now I have a choice to decide how I want want to show up when I do hit these walls. Problem solving skills, critical thinking skills, organizational skills, structure. It's all been a lesson for me and continues to be a lesson for me in the season of my life in the last few years as well. Meal planning and creativity. And it kind of feels like I have a fear of like, what if my creativity runs out one day? What if I just don't have enough of it? All my life really felt like my creativity was empty, not full, and maybe because it has not been. But I have a fear of like, maybe I don't have it in me. You know, it comes easy to so many people. And I think, how do they do it? How do they just conjure up this creativity? Do I blame my childhood for not having opportunities to create? I don't even remember my childhood to even know whether I was creative or not. I was only creative when I was in like art class. But I know that creativity doesn't always, it looks like so many different, there's so many different avenues of creation. In a way I'm creating now, I guess. Just by speaking, I don't know. Or by writing, I don't know. But I feel like I do have a lot more to create. This inspiration hasn't conjured up in my mind. But I feel that it's a potential in me. There's potential in me. But it's just such a fog and a haze. And that ties in back to the mystery of life. Mystery of everything. Of not knowing anything. Not knowing what can one create. Not knowing how can one operate for themselves. For them to become that version of themselves that they want to be. Like, yes, let's say someone is very unproductive and stale, then their version of themselves that they want to be is the opposite of productivity. And yeah, let's just say that, right? It's learning what works for me to be able to get to that version of myself. Like, I can watch all the videos and listen to all the podcasts in the world, but if it doesn't resonate with me to apply it to my own life, then I'm never gonna get to that side, to that other version of me. I have to find out, as individuals, we have to find out what works for us. How can we tweak it, this technique we've learned, a tool we've learned, how can we tweak it that truly resonates with us so we can get to that version of ourselves? And I'm just contemplating on that. I kind of want to diverge the topic because this is just busy. Life has been feeling, when I say busy, I don't think it's, I think I used to see busy as like, oh, you just have like 50 things on your to-do list, like the number of things. But no, now I see busy as just the brain's capacity being so filled up. You know, and one's brain capacity can be filled up with just their work. And that's how it's been feeling for me. It's like my work has taken up a lot of my brain capacity. And That's why I felt busy. And I think, I could look up the definition of busy, but isn't that what it is? Or am I, like, isn't it just capacity is just so filled? You can't put in more in your brain. You can't just download more in your brain. I just need a mix of both. Sometimes it's just rest and busyness. I'm very accepting of that part of me that needs both. I'm not going to go extremely on the productive side and neglect my rest side, because no sustainable lifestyle will contain going to one extreme. Only a sustainable lifestyle is a balance. It's only a balance. So I'll diverge. If you're still around, I'll share a little bit of my personal life. I mean, I did right now, I guess, but I also been gone because went to Boston for the first time. I don't know why I'm saying this. Maybe I had something to say. I feel like I had so much to say. I don't know why I'm saying that anyway. Why am I saying it? Maybe I'll make another video about it or something. Thank you guys for tuning in. Yeah, let me know if there were some walls you've hit, and whatever it is. We're always trying to improve one area of our life, and then in order to do that, we sometimes hit walls because we don't know how to go past that wall and break through that wall, or even open a door to go through that wall. There's always improvement in one area of our life, and I guess we have to just find out, how do we problem solve it? How do we go through that wall? Okay. So let me know if you've hit a wall before and you just don't know how to navigate through it. I think that one was biggest for me is creativity, eating, and I've slept way better than for a long time. Like the sleeping gun, the only thing I could think of is my eating. I was eating more lately. All I know is I've been sleeping way better than, because I've had issues sleeping, I mentioned before, and I've been sleeping way better consistently. So, what else I've been hitting a wall with? Yeah, so those are the biggest: creativity and eating. Alright guys.